Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there, friend. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. And today in the Bible Bistro and all this week and all next week, we're going to study Psalm 71. Psalm 71 is 24 verses long, so we're going to break it in half and just do 12 verses a week. And I want to really drill down on this one because it's such an important prayer. This is what we're going to call the old man's prayer. Now, maybe you're going to ask the question, what old man? Well, guess what? We're not told. As a matter of fact, this is an orphanic prayer, but there are so many Davidic themes in this prayer that I think that we can even imagine that this is a prayer that David himself prayed, and it is very personal, and so we're going to dive into that this week. Come on in here and sit down with me, and get yourself something hot or cold to drink and open your Bible up. We're going to look at verses 1, 2, and 3 to start off this week. These three verses that begin the psalm are very much like what we have in Psalm 31. In Psalm 31, the first three verses are very much like what we have here in Psalm 71. So again, remember the principle, and I talked about this last week with Psalm 70. When something's repeated, when you have it 2 or 3 or more times, that's a notice to sit up and listen. Now, you should always be paying attention when you're reading or hearing the word read, but when it's repeated in the scriptures more than once, then it's important. And so we want to make sure that we pay close attention to these first verses. This is a prayer that you can take, this whole thing is a prayer that you can take into your prayer closet. As a matter of fact, in my prayer time, I used it this very day because it's an old man's prayer and I'm an old man. And so I appreciate the fact that the Lord has included this kind of prayer in the Psalter. And I even told him so. I said, thank you for remembering old people and giving us a prayer to pray. And it's not like we don't have a prayer to pray, but one that's, stylized like this for the old man, I think is wonderful. And the old man David, I think he probably prayed this prayer, and I think he meant it for this old man David to pray. And so let's read together today, beginning this old man's prayer here in verse 1. In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be put to confusion. Deliver me in thy righteousness, and cause me to escape. Incline thine ear unto me, and save me. Be thou my strong habitation, whereunto I may continually resort. Thou hast given commandment to save me, for thou art my rock and my fortress. All right, that's verses 1 through 3 in Psalm 71. Let me just quickly make a comparison here between these verses and the verses in Psalm 31. In Psalm 31, verse 1, In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in thy righteousness. Bow down thine ear to me. Deliver me speedily, for thou art my strong rock, for an house of defense to save me. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. Now, as you look at those two passages, you'll discover that there are some differences, but there are lots of similarities. The differences come in verse 2 of Psalm 31, because there, instead of bow down thine ear unto me, here in Psalm 71, what we have is incline thine ear unto me. So the bow down is not there, but we understand that it's the same thing. In Psalm 31, he says, deliver me speedily, and here he just says, save me. He uses the word strong rock instead of strong habitation, what we have there in verse 3. And he says, for an house of defense. That is completely missing. What we have is, you've given commandment to save me. For thou art my rock and my fortress are exactly the same in both. And then in verse 3 of Psalm 31, we have, therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. That is completely missing here in Psalm 71. So you see the differences between the two. And you also notice the Davidic themes. I've already mentioned those, which are the rock and the fortress, the strong habitation, or the strong rock. All that is right here in David's, these themes are right here in the psalm, and they're Davidic themes that come straight out of David's grand opus, Psalm 18. So these are some of the similarities and dissimilarities between the two, and they start us off in a wonderful way. And I'll talk more about that tomorrow here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.